Veuillons nous asseoir.
Siéntense, por favor. Damos nuestra sesión, señor secretario general. Usted tiene la palabra.
Proceedings, Clerk, you have the floor, sir.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. President,
Presidente,
our agenda includes the presentation and debate on the Africa Governance Report. I invite Professor Eddie Maloka, Chief Executive Officer of the APRM, to come in accordance with Article 38 AH. Is Mr. Maloka with us in the House? Not yet. Now we move on to the following item. Thank you. The following item in our agenda is presentation and debate on the information item on the agenda on the budget 2020 of the Pan-African Parliament and the update on the double taxation agreement. Presentation and debate on the item on the budget 2020 of the Pan-African Parliament and the update on the double taxation agreement. I would like to invite Honorable James Reat Gony, Chairperson of the Committee on Monetary and Financial Affairs, to make his presentation. Honorable Gony, you are the Chairperson of this committee, aren't you? Honorable Gony.
It's a small mistake, no problem.
Yes, thanks to my colleagues. They decided to elect me the other day, so now I'm the duly elected chair of the committee, no longer the vice. Thank you very much. The first is update on the approved 2020 budget of the Pan-African Parliament. A report on the revision of the proposed 2020 budget of the Pan-African Parliament is the budget that we adopted here in May 2019 that was subsequently revised by the Permanent Representative Committee in Addis Ababa. Introduction. During the plenary session of the Pan-African Parliament held in May 2019, the Committee on Monetary and Financial Affairs presented the proposed budget for 2020 amounting to USD 20,798,521 US dollars for the Pan-African Parliament. The budget was passed and subsequently presented to the AU Permanent Representative Committee, PRC, Subcommittee on Budgetary Affairs for consideration before presenting it to the Executive Council for approval and complying with African Union financial rules and regulation Article 11.3, which requires that the PRC shall consider the detailed budget of the Union presented by the accounting officer of each organ before presentation to the AU Executive Council for consideration. The FAB 2020 budget was reduced subsequently by US dollars 4,390,344, and it was approved as USD 16,408,177 by the Executive Council, which Your Excellency the President already reported on it. The meeting to consider the detailed budget of the Union was held in Bahir Dar, Ethiopia in June 2019. The Pan-African Parliament was represented by 5 staff from the Secretariat and 3 members of Parliament from the Committee of Monetary and Financial Affairs. And subsequently, there was also another team that went to Addis that included the 3rd and 4th Vice President, plus other members of Parliament. The guiding principles in the discussion of the detailed budget. The Assembly decided in Addis Ababa that the Assembly Head of States and Government decided in Addis Ababa in January 2017 that the Committee of 15 Finance Ministers, which they call themselves Group of F-15, will assume responsibility for oversight of the African Union budget and reserve fund and develop a set of golden rules, establishing clear financial management and accountability principles. A set of 9 golden rules were developed, and Golden Rule 4 was applied in consideration of proposal budget limits for 2020. Golden Rule 4, which is expenditure ceilings, should be set. It states as follows. There should be an annual budget ceiling communicated by the Chairperson of the African Union Commission for departments and organs of the Union submit their budget proposals. And 2, the operational budget, including salaries, should not exceed 30% of the total budget. This ratio will be calculated based on the expenditure outturned for the past 3 years. Implementation of this threshold may need to be done gradually. The AU organs and departments are expected to include more activities in program budgets so as to shift the ratio of operational budget to program budget in order to achieve a 30-70 ratio. So more money should go to programs, 70% and 30% to operations. 3, budget ceiling. Another decision was made by the AU Assembly Head of State and Governments that the overall budget of the African Union must be decreased or reduced by United States dollars 32 million. The limit of the organs and AU offices were then set, taking into consideration the average budget execution rates for the past 3 years in accordance with Golden Rule 3. The budgets must be credible. And point 11 of this rule, which is Golden Rule 3, states there must be an acceptable variance between budgets and expenditure outturn, as well as revenue forecasts and income. To achieve this, a baseline for the first 3 years must be produced. The variance for the T1, the year T1 or the base year, the first year, must be known prior to the start of the budget process. In order to achieve acceptable variance between budget and expenditure outturn, realistic budget must be set. The realistic budget would be based on past budget performance. Based on the average budget execution rate for the first 3 years, the budget ceiling for the Pan-African Parliament was set at $16,810,115 instead of the 20 million we sent from here. For 2020 approved budget for the PAP, this is what is now approved for us. PAP proposed budget approved in plenary in May 2019 amounted to 20,798,521, and the final budget approved by the Executive Council of the African Union is United States dollars 16,408,177. The detail of the final proposed budget against the initial proposed budget by us are shown in paragraph 6 below. The budget cuts were mainly on the budget lines with low execution rate, lines that were never used by us. Some budget cuts were arbitrary, and some budget lines were cut for specific reasons. The budget lines cut for specific reasons are discussed here. One, staff special allowance. PAB requested the inclusion of a budget provision for special allowances for local general service staff category, but this was denied based on the Executive Council decision of 2018 to stop the paying of special allowances because it was not authorized. The fact that Washington and New York offices of African Union are paying special allowances did not change the decision made on PAB to stop paying of this staff special allowance. Second, MP medical insurance expenses. The PRC Subcommittee on Budgetary Affairs are requested removal of MP medical budget, but the PAB brought to the attention of the PRC Subcommittee the Executive Council decision EXCL/DEC 407-12 taken during the Executive Council 12 Ordinary Council meeting of 25 to 29 January 2008, which provided that medical and accident insurance for members of Parliament while engaged in PAP activities shall be borne out of the PAB budget. And thank God the MP medical budget of 2000 was maintained. They wanted it deleted, so it is back in the budget now. Three, MP allowances. MP allowances were reduced, in fact removed, in line with the provisions of the harmonization of allowances for the EU organs. An Executive Council decision EX.CL/DEC1 XXXV of July 2019, this year, endorsed the payment of allowances and benefits according to the matrix below. And the bureaus of the committees is yes and yes. Intercession allowance DSA rate is no and no. Judicature allowance DSA rate is no and no. Travel insurance on AU official missions, yes and yes. Class of travel on AU official mission, President, Vice President's business, the honorable MPs, unfortunately, is economy class.